Hey sis, artificial black women. Why so many AI influencers look like us? You've probably seen them. Flawless AI models filling your feed with soft glows, tight curls, full lips, and perfectly poised bodies. They look just like us. They don't age, they don't talk about injustice, they don't put other people in their place because they're simply not real. Across TikTok, Instagram, and digital ad campaigns, hundreds of creators, many of them non-black, are generating AI influencers that look just like us. Some may put this down to some kind of win for us in terms of representation, but is it? And do we need to do a bit more critical thinking, as I always promote, and look at what research is showing black women about the real reason why other people are using our likeness? Who benefits? Why are they doing it? And should black women be offended or worried across the diaspora? 3 questions many black women would have or could have, and there's data and research to help answer them very clearly if you stay with me. Why are they, many non-black people, doing this? This question is a starting point to understand why there's been a rise in our likeness being used across the internet. Black women have long shaped beauty, culture, style all around the globe, from our skin tones, our body shapes, to our fashion, all things that non-black women have even paid for. Enter stage left the Kardashians and white rappers like Iggy Azalea. Not only that, research shows that your average white woman is more likely to have surgery that emulates our features, which I discussed in my 2003 essay called The Beauty Standard Has Shifted to Black Women. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I will try to put a link to that essay in the description box, or the video may pop up somewhere in the corner, and if you're catching this on Substack, then it will be linked in the written version of this essay. With this amount of plagiarism over black women's likeness in the age of artificial intelligence, it's no surprise that we've become the aesthetic template. The AI generated black women are often very visually stunning, striking enough to stop the scroll and take a listen to what this black woman has to say. That's not representation when it's manufactured in this way by others. It's not a win for black women, and some people may feel this, but when you look at it, it's really not. Brands, influencers, and developers know that diversity or diverse faces will boost visibility and profit simply because they can reach a wider audience, so meaning non-white people, for their goods and services, and are probably very aware that black people as a whole are easy to market to, especially when our own likeness is used to do the marketing. This could be argued as one of the main reasons why non-black people have started to use our likeness. So who is creating this AI and manufacturing some kind of inclusion and passing it off as representation? The short answer to this is men, based on the data to answer this question. If we as black women wanted to go a step further and hazard a guess at what kind of demographic of men would be doing this, white men are shown to be the guilty party. This is because the top companies who develop AI systems are more likely to have a larger demographic of white men employed than any other race of men. We can make this educated guess if we refer to the data found in the study called Who Makes AI? Gender and Portrayals of AI Scientists in Popular Film. The researchers had a feeling that women were very underrepresented in this field, so they looked into it, and they found that only 8% of women were present in the profession of creating AI. They found 9, yes, you heard that or read that correctly, only 9 women in the field of 160 individuals who were counted as AI workers and researchers. There were only 9 women present. Globally, the figure of women in this field is only at 22%. So based on the figures, it's safe to say that according to their research, that women, regardless of race, are not really likely the ones to be using the likeness of black women. And again, if you're catching this essay on Substack, you will see in the written version a screenshot of the actual research study and how they broke down this data that I've just presented to you. If you're listening to this on YouTube and you'd like to see that, then all you can do is just simply click in the description box the direct link to the written essay and you can see it there for yourself. As for the assumption that within the men who are doing this, it's white men, as for the assumption that within the men who are doing this, it's mainly white men, it would be a very broad but believable statement without the data to back this up. We can look at the data and see if the theory over it being mainly white men actually makes sense. More than 80% of AI professors are men, and we know that this is something that will require a very high standard of education to be an AI professor or any kind of professor. When we consider how educated black men tend to be, we know that they are the least likely members of society to hold a degree, sadly, or to follow or pursue higher education, and the least likely to do well academically or even have an interest in the world of academia, which was discussed in my essay, Why Don't They Like Educated Black Women? If you are listening to this on YouTube, you will find the direct link in the description box, or the video may pop up somewhere as I'm talking now on the right hand side of the screen. If you are over on Substack, then you will see the actual link to this essay in the written article. This isn't just me making these assumptions about black men. This is something that has been documented, evidenced and researched. So if we go by this would lead us to believe that the people using our likeness as women in the top companies who produce AI are male, and yes, they are more likely to be a white male because of the amount of education that is required in order to do so. But where's the surprise though? That's the question. If we move away from the top companies and consider the average creator who can easily set up a social media account based on what the data shows about who is mainly present in the field of AI, it would probably be safe to assume also that your average white male is doing the same thing as the professional white male who is working in the field of AI. So what other reasons are there for them using our likeness so freely and so frequently? Well, there were three that I found. Firstly, perfect, predictable, and easy to control. One uncomfortable truth is this: Black AI women are going to be very easy to control. They don't unionize themselves in solidarity globally or even locally. They don't mobilize themselves and form a defense as a barrier of resistance. These are two things that black women have a reputation for and well-documented history of doing, albeit for the benefit mainly of black men historically, but we still have that reputation. The AI black women, they don't post about injustice. They don't check facts, figures, data as I do, or many other black female content creators do, and call out where things are of a concern for us as women. They don't need fair pay or creative credit. You can mold them into whatever sells best, from digital supermodels to, a passive love interest to even some kind of hypersexualized fantasy avatar. It's quite possible. Black women should note this. The creators of these systems and AI can try, if we allow them to decide what blackness looks like for us. This leaves the risk open to them being able to create content that is less about us and more about what they think the world wants from us, or even worse, dictate how the world should see us as black women. The two latter points are key and noteworthy for black women. Here we can see another group of people outside of black men trying to shape how we present and how we are perceived. And yes, you heard me correctly, or you read that correctly. Black men have tried to do this for a very long time by way of how they tell the world that black women are loud, aggressive, masculine, yada yada yada. You know what they say and what they talk about online in terms of what they say about us as women. The second reason that I found why they could be really wanting to drill down and use black women is that black women are being used to garner opportunities. So let's be clear, these artificial influencers aren't increasing opportunities for real black women. In fact, they are taking up space and the opportunities away from real black women. This is another reason why they are doing it, for their benefit. The creators of these Black AI women take and receive the brand deals, they build the followers, they receive the praise, and for being bold and diverse, while actual Black women content creators are still battling for reach or support or even financial rewards. So the erasure for Black female content creators is actually very real. The real kicker here is that while other demographics of society seem to be using our likeness in large numbers for their benefit, the actual systems used to create AI are not even based on us, inclusive of us, and the worst thing is that they don't even recognize us. One study found that when AI does include us, it often gets our likeness wrong, and there's an error, in quotation marks, with recognizing two things: Black and female. The MIT researcher Joy, and I hope I say her surname correctly, I'm going to say Bulamwami, so Joy Bulamwami, her 2018 study exposed how facial recognition tech had error rates as high as about 34.7%, so you can say almost 40% for dark-skinned women, compared to under 1% for white men. These technologies don't even see us clearly, yet they're being used to define and create us. The third reason why they are quite insistent on using our likeness is that where are we in tech that represents us? In the actual world of AI creation, Black women are nearly invisible. Two things were found in AI Now's 2019 research report, and if you are catching this over on Substack, you will see a link to the direct report there. If you are listening to this on YouTube, I will make sure that it's linked in the description box. They did a study called Discriminating Systems, Age, Race and Power of AI. This was in 2019. And two things relate to Black women that they cite. The first thing is the AI sector needs a profound shift in how it addresses the current diversity crisis. The AI industry needs to acknowledge the gravity of its diversity problem and admit that existing methods have failed to contend with the uneven distribution of power and the means by which AI can reinforce such inequality. Furthermore, many researchers have shown that the bias in AI system reflects historical patterns of discrimination. These are two manifestations of the same problem and they must be addressed together. So this can be found on page 3 of their report. If we were to break this down, what they cite here, this means that the very systems designing our likeness and being used to create this AI in the form and likeness of Black women are being built without us even in the same room. The second thing that they cite in this report that is key for Black women or relates to us is that the overwhelming focus on women in tech is too narrow and likely to privilege white women over others. We need to acknowledge how the intersections of race, gender, and other identities and attributions shape people's experiences with AI. So again, that citation can be found on page 3 of their report. While our image is being used to sell clothes, music, makeup, tech, and who else knows what else it's being used for, the money, power, and ownership rarely actually makes its way back to Black women. And it appears that based on the above findings and what I've cited here to you today from the research, that it's very likely we're not even in the same room, building, or even industry while these people are actually creating us. We are not imaginary, that's the thing. To every Black woman who may read this or who may hear this, here is one actual truth. You and we are not a trend, we are not an aesthetic or a data point. You and we are real, and your beauty, my beauty, and all of our beauty and brilliance and complexity are not things that can be replicated for or by algorithms, and should not be for the profit of others. This moment here, which, we've discovered if we look into what the research and data is showing, is that it's not about inclusion, but there needs to be more calls for inclusion. And what really needs to happen here is a demand for some kind of accountability from those that profit from us and for them to be put to a stop. So what we can do now as Black women is, support other real Black creators. So follow, fund and amplify Black women who are actually telling their own stories in tech and actually using media and art for whatever way they are using it. Interrogate the image. If you come across a Black AI influencer, dig a little bit deeper, who created her, who would profit from this, who made her, and how is she being portrayed in terms of Blackness. And one thing I have to say as well is that some of these AI creators or influencers, I should say, are very realistic looking. And the main way that you can spot them is mainly through their eyes and their blinking. I've noticed it's a little bit off, and also sometimes with their hands. Another thing that we can do is make way for the real thing. So by this, I mean women must not just appear in AI, which is generated by non-Black people. We must be demanding representation from the top companies that the research has identified has done little to include Black women, or they favour white women more. The final thing that we can do, or one of the final things that we can do, because I'm sure there is plenty more, is to advocate and push for ethical AI. So advocate for fairness, transparency, and anti-racist policies in AI development. When we come across these platforms who are doing things that don't seem right, we should call them out and call out the brands as well that wish to exploit us, either digitally or otherwise. So based on what the evidence in the research is showing Black women, which I briefly looked at, we can actually answer the opening questions for this week's essay, which were: who is creating us? Well, it's likely someone male and white. Why are they creating us? Well, most likely to use us to manufacture, and I would put that in quotation marks, some kind of diversity that isn't real, and then market right back to us to gain profit for themselves. And the third question was: should Black women across the diaspora be worried or offended? Well, in my view, yes, we should be worried, and yes, we certainly should be offended, and support should be withdrawn from any AI Black images that are created in our likeness but not by one of us, or if they are not being created in a very positive light, so they're making us look quite negative. Next week, if you stay with me, I do plan on diving deeper into the research studies that I've cited here today in this essay to take a closer look at exactly what's happening in the world of AI and how the use of our likeness is actually being used. It's one thing, I think, to be Black and female and to be used for centuries as the world's mules by various other groups of people in society to varied extents on how they use us, if you believe and understand what Zora Neale Hurston was saying when she spoke to us about this back in the 19th century. But it's another thing to allow non-Black people to find a new and digitalized, you could say, way of using us as mules as well. And I think as Black women, it's something that we shouldn't leave, and it must not go unnoticed. So thank you for staying with me. If you made it all the way to this point here, much love, and I will catch you in the next one, The Black Woman Essayist.